I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
Now, we've all had a childhood where we had challenging situations. We've had that person who tormented us, whether it was on the block, in our classroom, whether it was even in our family. But that person made our lives miserable throughout our childhood, and it affected everything: our self-esteem, our feeling of being safe and secure. We felt the pain of their bullying, and it affected us deeply. And we have the memories and maybe even some emotional scars. A few years ago, I was watching an episode of Oprah, and she had people on that had a childhood bully that they wanted to confront. And she had them talk about what happened. And as I was watching the show, I thought about a particular little boy who, of course, is now a man, who made my life a living hell, teasing me, taunting me, ridiculing me. And of course, people laughed because, he was one of them class clown types. And it was horrifying. And I thought, what if I called him up and had him watch this show, and then we talked about what he did? Well, of course, he's no longer that person, and we have since talked as adults. Very pleasant person now, respected in the community, but he was that one that tormented me as a child. Well, we've got a book coming out, Growing Up Charles, and we get a chance to review our childhoods from our three perspectives. And we talk about the experiences that we had in our wonderful community of Maple Park in Chicago. And we talked about, should we name names, real names of people? Well, we made a decision on that. And all of us have had instances of bullying. Well, when this book comes out, we're going to talk about those who caused us pain. And this might be an opportunity to confront that childhood bully. But sisters, what do you think about eventually coming face to face with that person that tormented you throughout your childhood, or maybe even just a portion of your childhood? Maybe later on they disappeared from your life, but you still have the scars. How do you feel about confronting your childhood bully?
Girl, all my bullies are dead.
Oh, wait. Did you kill them? Don't say anything.
Don't incriminate yourself. It is funny how far back this can go, because I think my first bully was some little boy named Robert, who was known for putting snow in little girls' faces. This is kindergarten. He would hit you, and then as you stood around crying, he would pick up a bunch of snow and just put it all in your face. It wasn't even a real snowball, just a big clump of snow. And one day he had targeted me, and I knew it was coming because he told me, they're always real bold and telling you they're coming to get you. Yeah. And I was running down the stairs of Yale School to get away from him. Well, he tried to hit me. I think he thought he hit me. He hit my book bag, and he was bending over, gathering up a bunch of snow to put in my face. I ran past him and ran all the way home. That was the first bully. Now, wow. The second bully, I think, was this little girl named Loretta. I don't know what possessed her to want to pick on me. And I think it was probably second grade, because my teacher was Miss Gill. See, it's funny. Different names you cannot remember, but those incidents are so traumatic. You remember every single detail.
Yes.
And Loretta would come up behind me in line and say, I'm beating you up after school. And she'd do this. I would be terrified. I would get out of line as we were about to exit the building. Tell Miss Gill, Loretta said she's going to beat me up. And Miss Gill was so kind. She would take me, I said, I'll take care of this. And she would take me out another door and escort me a different hallway where I could run home again. And this went on for several days. And then one day the teacher confronted Loretta, and Loretta was, I was just playing, and the teacher told her she better not be playing like that anymore. It was really, but in seventh grade, see, I'm jumping some grades now. In seventh grade, there was this boy named Rodney Ford. I'm sorry to say Rodney Ford has passed away, but
you can say his name.
Rodney Ford used to torment me by telling me I had a shiny nose, and he would call me Shinola Nose, and he would also call me Bosco. Bosco is that chocolate syrup that we used to put in our drinks, in our milk, to make your milk chocolate. And every time he saw me, he would go, "Here comes Bosco." And he would do the rhyme of the commercial and then say my name instead of saying Bosco. And then there was this really tall, dark young man, really handsome. But of course, he was really tall and really dark. And his name was Roscoe. I didn't like him. But Rodney Ford would say, "Bosco loves Roscoe. Bosco likes Roscoe." Okay, Cheryl, let me give you some time to talk because I got way. I'll be on the show all by myself talking about bullying.
And just so you all know, we did make a decision about whether to name people. We followed the Michelle Obama.
We did,
book.
But Rodney is dead, and I used his name.
And we used the first names of everybody.
Right. We didn't say their whole
bully,
names.
look for your name in the book. We might not use the last name if you did something really awful, but your first name is in there. We did not change the names. And I think people have to be responsible for what they did. But Cheryl, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's interesting because, and I'm going to tell secrets, one of the people who bullied me became one of my best friends. But before, it wasn't just her, it was somebody else. And I think I had talked about this before in another show where I said what saved me was that there were some girls who were playing marbles, and they saw these three girls, and one of them became my friend. Today, even still today, we're still friends. And they realized, at first they kept saying, "Oh, Cheryl, go stand over there." And, which makes you feel even more isolated because here's somebody bullying you in plain sight, and the people that you're trying to stand close to, come back and say, you're nothing. And then one of the girls, and I remember her name as Deborah, and she looked up and she finally realized what was happening. And she said, "Are they bothering you?" And I said, "Yeah." And I was like really, really shy and, didn't want to talk. He says, "Come sit down here with us." And so I sat down in the circle where the girls were playing marbles. And because they could no longer isolate me, they went away and they didn't bother me anymore. I don't remember. There were more mean girls than bullies for me. There was one girl who used to come to the house every day after school or during lunchtime, to the point where Daddy would even make a meal for her because she always had lost. I think the thing is that she didn't want to go home and be by herself.
She was going to be alone, yeah.
And so he got to the point where he would make us a little chicken pot pies. Yeah. And this girl considered herself, I guess, my friend. And then she did a real mean girl thing. This was like 6th grade, and I think she had her first boy-girl party, and she didn't invite me because I wasn't one of the popular girls. But I was fine for coming home every day and eating lunch with us. And Naima, you remember, you know exactly who I'm talking about.
I'm telling y'all, you all are all in the book.
And I ran into her years later because she ended up moving away.
Yeah.
And I was surprised that she recognized me because remember, I was really little and skinny. So when she saw me, Sarah was a baby and I was probably 60 pounds heavier by then. You know, I was a grown woman. And she came up to me and I almost didn't recognize her. And then I recognized her from her eyes.
Yeah.
But it was funny, like, I'm wondering if she realized how hurtful she was because even after that, she uh she came and was telling me all about how great this party was, but she didn't bother to invite me. So sometimes
You feel bad. That's a
yeah, and she was real insensitive, and we ended up like not really being friends after that. And there were other things that she did, and I realized, you know, this person is not my friend. This person's a user. She wants to be in with the popular girls and with the popular crowd, and because I wasn't, so you know, there was that kind of bullying, the emotional taking advantage. And now I wonder if I were to ever run into her again, or even talk to the person who became my friend, and I'm still wondering whether or not I should mention this person's name.
Oh, it'll be in the book.
But but do they even remember? Now you had a situation where you met with someone and
Yeah.
they seem to have rewritten history. And this is the thing. I'm wondering how many of your bullies rewrite history. So
Well,
so
you
we're
know,
talking to the parents right now because we're not talking
Right.
to the kids. So I want parents to wonder, well, if I ran into my childhood bully, what would I do and what lesson would I be telling my kids to do?
well,
Because
And
I
let me also mention this book by Jody Blanco.
I was just about to.
Please stop laughing at me.
I was just
My
about-
daughter's got a chance to actually meet her at
Yeah.
one of Mayor Daley's reading events. He had a big reading event thing happening in Chicago back when my kids were young and readers. And she was the guest author at one of the libraries. And I had read the book. I was so jealous that I wasn't even able to go to that one. But she shared how the people in her book who had bullied her actually did not recognize themselves except for a couple who suspected that
Yeah.
it was them. And then the thing that I found shameful, since we are talking to parents, is that her parents ignored the symptoms
That's
she
what
was
I was
exhibiting from the bullying. Yeah, Naima, you were going to say.
Yeah, I'm glad you remembered her name because I didn't remember the author's name, but I remember the title of the book. Please stop laughing at me because Zakia had to read it for school also. And I read it, and I was so angry at her parents because they go, "Oh, you know, you're just imagining it all." And I'm thinking, how weak are you? You don't even stand up for your child. That's one thing I will say about our mother is that she did confront the parents of
Yes,
the
she
girls
did.
who were bullying me.
Yes,
And
she
so
did.
that whole incident is in our upcoming book, Growing Up Charles. And you know, again, we did give first names of the bullies. So
And that reminds me of I've forgotten that's right. I was remembering that Mama had confronted these, but there was also a girl who bullied me in 7th grade. And she took something from me. I remember there was a guy that he was a friend of mine in class, and we were at a store, and he asked for he had my mitten or something like that, and he said, "Oh, give me a dime." And then I gave him a dime, and it was all in good fun because, like I said, he was fun. Well, this girl, and I'm gonna name her. Her name was Connie, and she was a big girl. And she says, "Oh, you should make her give you another dime." So she grabbed my glove, and she said, "Now you give me a dime." And I was about ready to cry. And then she ended up leaving with my glove. Bruce, the guy who I had been talking to, I can't even remember his name. He was a nice guy. And he went back, and she had thrown it in the trash. So he went back and got it. And he came back and gave it to me. And I was like near tears. And he apologized. He says, I didn't know what to do. He says, "I'm really sorry. I didn't mean for it to go that far." And this girl had threatened to beat me up. And remember, like I said, when I graduated high school, I weighed less than 100 pounds. So at 7th grade, you can imagine how small I was. And she so she threatened me, and it was like to go to Shoop, because we were going to Shoop school. She threatened to beat me up. And I went home and I told Mama. Mama marched right over there with us, with, you know, and she came and she wrote this woman a note. She wrote this mother a note, and the girls, Connie's sister was there. Well, Connie, and she just kind of threw the phone number on the desk, and of course Connie threw it away. But apparently her sister ratted her out, or somebody did, because the mother did call. And she and Mama talked, and the mother got on the phone and apologized to me. And I'm thinking, oh, this is nice, but you know, this girl's gonna beat me up. And Mama said, no, you're not gonna go any different way to school. You're gonna go to school. And do you know, that girl was like mean mugging me, but she never said anything or touched me again. Yeah. So parents, when your kid tells you you are being bullied, that they are being bullied, be the mama bear or the papa bear that you want to be. You ain't got to knock the kids block off, even though you might want to. I know I would, but you should go and talk to the parents.
Yes.
And you know what? And this litigious society, you can threaten them, because money talks. And you can say, you know what? If this keeps happening, we're going to get an attorney. Yeah. And we're going to talk about this. The same thing if it happens in your school with your teachers and they don't do anything. Right. You can keep, you know, escalating that, you know, keep pushing it up the ladder, because somebody's going to talk, and somebody's going to do something, or somebody's going to open some wallets.
And you know, this toxic behavior continues up the line, not even just with one student against another or something like that. This could happen in your job place. Yes. And you need to know how to handle people who are mean to you on the job. I remember my first job, I would hear stories. Now, I did not have these kind of things that happened to me personally, but one of my friends was just shocked. She said, why don't the sisters stick together? Why are all the Black women mean to the other Black women? It's so few of us who were there. And, you know, she was really upset because she said these people said that they were Christians, but they would be mean. And there was a little bit of backbite. Well, now that I remember, there was a little bit of backbiting when I was the only Black woman in the office, and they hired another Black woman. And I'm thinking, oh, yay, there's two of us. We're going to be friends. And it didn't happen. She was rather cold and she was snippy. And we didn't get along. And I don't even know if it had to do with anything at all, except that we were the Black women in competition, and she was going to make sure that she got over before I did.
Well, you know, that's that same kind of thing when somebody that you think is your friend, because during the same bullying period I was going through, there was somebody who wanted to be my friend. And I think we walked to school together one time, but then she said, don't tell anybody that I walked with you. And she was afraid that if she was seen befriending me, then she would be included in the bullying. Right. So right. I think it's some of that same kind of mentality when you think, okay, well, you know, here we're all Black women together in this situation where we're in the, you know, smaller numbers, we should be friends. They're feeling like, if they bully you, I don't want to be included. So I don't want to be associated with you. I want to make sure that I'm connected with them. Yeah. I'm going to distance myself.
Which is really, yeah, that's really sad, because I have found that I've been very fortunate. When I worked for the Boston Globe, there were a bunch of Black women, and when there would be a get together or something, and one of our friends, she has since passed, Glenda Buell, and she was from Chicago, but she would organize these lunches for the Black women. And I was the only Black woman in sports at the time. And so there were so many of the women who would say, oh, I never knew anybody in the sports department, and it's kind of intimidating to walk by there because it's all these rat kind of guys. And she says, but they would say, but now I can walk by there. Now I feel like I know somebody there. Mm-hmm. And, you know, there were a lot of us who got together, and it was nice having that sisterhood, because we were all in different departments, And yet there were some of the women in other departments who would walk by you, wouldn't say anything to you, and you go, oh. And then it was funnier even even later, because some of the white women who, decided, well, how come we can't get invited? Because, how some people always have to center themselves. And they kind of felt like that was their being excluded, when really all we wanted was community. But
Yeah.
back to what we were saying about confronting our childhood bullies. What do we tell our children? Do we, and what do you tell that bully who, runs up to you and wants to hug you and wants to tell you, oh, we're good friends, and they want to rewrite history? I mean, well, you can't really, punch him in the face. uh are you cold? Are you polite? Are you civil? I mean, what do you do in that moment?
Well, you are taught to forgive your enemies, pray for those that despitefully use you. This is all spirit-led type of reaction to someone who has burned you in your past. And I will say I have not always been really quick about forgiving meanness when it has come to an adult bullying my child. When Lorelai was a sophomore at Columbia University and she was taking a sociology class, the first thing the teacher did in her class was hold up a Bible and say, anybody in this class who believes anything in this book is a fool, and I will not tolerate any comments based on anything that you read in this book. Well, Lorelai was instantly intimidated and said, I need this class to graduate. I'm going to drop it and take it some other time under some other teacher who is not so prejudiced. And she said something to him about in her creative art class, when they wanted to rip up a Bible and use it for some kind of design. She said, well, what about using a Quran? And he was real quick to say, oh, no, we can't do that. So we're not going to deface one holy book, but we're going to deface yours. And I wish I had heard this news before she had dropped the class and had gone on. Like, you always hear stuff like a year or two later, because I was probably older than her teacher, and I would have gone in there and I would have told him some words. And so on that thing, sometimes the bully may be your child's teacher.
Yeah,
well, often that is that.
Often that is the truth.
And that's why you need to listen to your children if they say things like, oh, the teacher just doesn't like me. Because sometimes they're not just making an excuse, the reason why they're failing. Sometimes teachers are bullies. And sometimes they do bullies things and intimidate you, or might criticize you, or say something disparaging, whether it's about your race, your religion, your hair, your hair, anything about you. And even if they don't say it directly to you, it's aimed at you. And if you're a child in a classroom, what skills do you have to defend yourself? Especially if you're elementary or even high school. It's not like even college, because still they hold the key to your grade in their hands. And a lot of times teachers will use their own personal belief systems to bully anybody who doesn't believe as they believe, and they're the teacher and they can do this. So it is important to listen to your children when they say they're being bullied, whether by another child or even by a teacher. But one thing I was going to say, when it comes to forgiving somebody who used to be that bully that tormented you, they're not that same person, and you're not that same person. And if you would hope anger, that means there was some deep wounds that really you need, like you always say, Cheryl, therapy. But
yes,
you have to let go of the anger, because there's really nothing that other person can do to make it all right. The past happened, and those memories are there.
Well,
you have to be able to see that they were not, hopefully, of the same consciousness that they are now. They're not the same person. You're not the same person. But I think it is a good idea to give them an opportunity to make amends, or at least to acknowledge that they realize they caused hurt. Because, once you leave this world, you're going to see everything you did to everybody, but you won't have a chance to say, I'm sorry, in the way which you could do something to make amends in this life. So I think with our book coming out, and again, Growing Up Charles will be coming out soon. We did name names. We did the Michelle Obama thing. We named your first and last name if you did something good. If you did something ugly, we just gave the first name.
Or we omitted your name altogether.
Yeah.
If you were really, really bad, we might not even say your name. And if it was really horrendous, we might say we can't even remember what you look like. So that's
like I said.
Or we could describe you and then let you figure it out.
Yeah. Well, like I said, my bullies are dead. My journalism teacher told me that Black women need to stay in the kitchen where they belong.
Oh, are they dead?
And when Mama and Daddy had come up to the school because they were going to confront him, he got up from the table when he saw us and practically ran out of the dining room.
Yeah, especially if he saw our father, because
oh yeah,
real intimidating.
He could smile, but he was scary.
He could be scary. Don't let him get mad.
Don't let him get mad. And this is the thing, as we wind down, you all have both talked a little bit about forgiveness and things. Now, I have to acknowledge that forgiveness is very hard for me. I think it's hard for everyone. And I don't necessarily forgive people. I don't carry around the poison, but the forgiveness really isn't for them.
It's for you. Yeah.
And so if you can let go, I wouldn't even say even forgiving someone. I would say let go of it. But I think if you're still hurting, and if that person is in your life and causing you pain and pretending like what happened didn't happen, I think you owe it to yourself to say, oh, what a wonderful mug you have there. I think you owe it to yourself to say, I don't know what you remember of us growing up together, but I was hurt by what you did and the way you made me feel. And you know what? They can either deny it, which means you're off the hook for forgiving them because obviously, it's not for them. Or you could just say, okay, I've said my piece, and then you can walk on. Yeah. But whatever, I think for your own peace of mind, if I ran into Connie today, she might be one of those, oh yeah, we went to school together. And I would say, yeah, and you
bullied me.
just like I said to the boy who used to snap my bra when I was a freshman, and ran into him at the high school reunion, and him saying, oh, I had a crush on you, and that was my childish way. And I told him he was full of BS, and please come, I want to introduce him to my husband. Well, he disappeared, and I didn't see him for the rest of the evening.
Yeah. And you might, well, we got to go, but you might see these people at a school reunion, and if it's still hurting, you might want to say something. Now,
make a joke. But
maybe
but
not.
Say something.
The person I ran into, I had no emotion at all. I mean, there's no hurt at all. They're not the same person. I'm not the same person. But when the book comes out, it'll be an opportunity to address it. So look out for it. Growing Up Charles, coming soon. We've got to go. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, 3 Black Moms. Like us on Facebook, 3 Black Moms. And until next week, I'm Naima.
I'm Cheryl. And a quick shout out to my friend Jenny Bello, who made that mug that Barbara just held up. I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Barbara. We are 3 Black Moms. I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're 3 Black Moms.